Hi, everyone. If you're joining us a little bit early, awesome. It's a great time for some stretches, a glass of water, get comfortable. We are going to hit the ground running in about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And as I said, we will be running. So ready to go. And also just want to remind you, this is an active chat box. So if you came here with questions you want answered and you already know that, stick those questions in the chat box because we will certainly make this an interactive presentation to be able to answer your questions as well. Follow-up, I should also mention for anyone who's watching this as a recording and you chose, we're so glad that you were choosing to do that. If you have questions, the chat box will not be available to you, but please feel free to respond to where it is that you received this link, and we will make sure that your questions get answered as well. And when all else fails, you can always email hello@thebetternutritionprogram.com. hello@thebetternutritionprogram.com. Thank you. Addressing a question that was sent to me, yes, the recording will be available. We expect that even if you attend live, you may want to come back to the recording and listen to this again. So not to worry on that part. It will be made available to you. And you don't have to send us anything to get it. We will send it out to anyone who has registered for this session. Me either.
Hi, Annie. Great to see you here. Always happy to see your name there.
Okay, well, the bell has tolled. It is 4 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 1 o'clock on the West Coast. It's 2 and 3 o'clock in between, and it's hours later in South Africa. So I hope that our friends there are sleeping and catching this at a better time. Such a privilege to have you all join us here today. And again, if you are only watching this on the recording, we're so grateful that you're taking the time to either take a walk and listen to us or watch this and gather this information. And why are we here? Well, we're here because if you have a health goal, period, if you have a health goal, you need a personalized solution. We know that. I don't think there's anyone here that I probably have to convince of that. But the challenge is very different from when I started practicing 25 plus years ago. Personalization is being sold everywhere. It is $1 billion into billions, not a billion. It is billions of dollars. And there's precision nutrition, precision medicine, and personalized. And the solutions that are being sold as personalized are unfortunately anything but. They may get closer to personalization than historically, but they're not in that space, or they're very rarely there. And this includes, as we will find out today, even genetic testing, just looking at genes in terms of true personalization. So together with my colleague, Dr. Yael Joffe, I'll introduce in a second, we've actually coined the phrase, and it's kind of a bummer that we had to do this, but true personalization, or truly personalized. And in order to help anyone get and stay healthy, or in order to get and stay healthy yourself, we need a truly personalized solution. And what that means is, big hint, that word person. So who is that person? Who is that person? How are they designed? Who are they today? What has their history been? And what are they looking for or concerned about as it relates to their future? And what we've put together is, and what you will get today, is a blueprint really for understanding true personalization and what you want to invest in order to be able to get that true personalization for yourself, recognizing that it is an ongoing process, right? All right, so to do that, I need one of my personalization superstars. So I'm going to take a second just to introduce myself. I'm dietitian Ashley Koff. I'm the founder of the Better Nutrition Program. And I am a 25 plus year practitioner who has specialized in personalization, which sounds like a really weird specialty if you think about it. But back in the day, 25 years ago, there weren't a lot of people that were saying, hey, let's look at your digestive system, or let's understand specifically your choices, or these kinds of things. And I also have, as a practitioner and with integrative functional medicine, real interest in trying to understand and explore the root cause. I'm somebody who has looked at and tried to stay on the cutting edge of resources, research, technology to understand how we can better know who a person is today and also show you who you are. So it's been really exciting for me over the last couple of years to get to know Dr. Yael Joffe, who decades before I had any awareness of the impact that nutrigenomics was going to have on healthcare was doing that. She was building companies, she was evaluating, she was learning about it, she was analyzing research, she was doing the research. So there is no one better to talk to, hearing from the horse's mouth, if you will, when it comes to nutrigenomics and their role in personalization. So welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Ashley. It is always an absolute pleasure to be on the same platform as you, and I always love our conversation. So looking forward to this one.
Before this is so selfish of me, it's great. I get to ask you the important questions that I have. But before I dive into mine, was there anything you wanted to say by way of introduction, commenting on the personalization piece or any part of that?
Well, I mean, I think, exactly what you said, like there's this kind of sadness in us and this excitement that we have to have a conversation about truly personalized. What is true personalization? It's a little bit about the same as the world of genetics, where we've actually haven't seen the great potential that we believed personalization or genetics would kind of bring to our patients and bring to the public. And so, we're in a space now, both you and I, where we're really trying to fine tune it to kind of really offer what should have been offered like 15 years ago. So I think that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today.
Great. So I think as we're talking about this, what's the rationale for personalization? Well, we want optimal health. Like, we know there's no perfect health, and we know it's dynamic. It's always changing. It's impacted by so many factors. So if we want optimal health, in the pursuit of it, we recognize that there's a recipe, and that recipe is it's rooted in who the individual is. What's been so fascinating and exciting is, as I've gone on my journey learning about genetics, nutrigenomics, is that you're probably the first and definitely the best, the most articulate in the conversation on it's not genetics and it's also not epigenetics, it's this collaboration. So first, do me a favor and define the terms genetics and epigenetics, just because I don't know who we have here today. And I always like to make sure we're on a shared lexicon, and then talk about why that collaboration is the recipe for optimal health.
Okay, yeah, that's a great place to start. There's a lot of confusion going out there. Terminology sometimes can be the great undoing of us. So let's start with genetics. So genetics is about our code. We all have this DNA code. Think of it as like a blueprint. Think of it as a language. We have English, we have Spanish, but we have DNA, and DNA's got these 4 letters. And of the billions of letters we have, 0.1% are they going to be different. And it's this different, I call them spelling changes. It's the difference in these spelling changes that really determine who we are and why and how we respond to the world around us, whether it's diet, supplements, trauma, stress, toxins. Our DNA and the code of our DNA is different and will determine our response. Now, that is genetics. And the word I always use to kind of describe these spelling changes is insight. If we can look at our DNA, if we can read these spelling changes, we can get great insight into who we are and why we respond differently. And I know I respond differently, and Ashley knows, and you know that throughout your life journey, you have had a different response. Now, more recently, certainly in like the last 5 years, we've been seeing this word epigenetics everywhere, right? It's like genetics was like 15 years ago. Epigenetics is the new big thing. And it's even more confusing to everyone for 2 reasons. The one is, when we measure or test epigenetics, what we're actually testing is whether a gene is being switched on or switched off. And to make an enzyme, make a hormone, make a brain messenger, we need to switch on a gene to make that protein. So when we talk about epigenetic testing, which is not available everywhere. It's still very early days. It is available, but it's still very early days. That's what they're doing. They're testing whether genes switch on or not. When I talk about epigenetics and when Ashley and I talk about epigenetics, what makes us excited is we know that the choices we make every single minute of every day, the choices we make will switch genes on and off. And that means your diet, your lifestyle, your sleep, your exercise, your exposure are all changing gene expression. So when we talk about genetics and epigenetics, genetics is our insight, who we are and why we're different. Epigenetics are the choices we're making that are changing the way our genes express. And actually and I call that action, the actions we're taking. And the important thing is that these are, I talk about yin and yang. They go together. There is no right or wrong here. They're part of the same conversation. Who am I? Understand myself. Action, what should I do? And I think what Ashley and I have come together to do, which is so exciting, is bring these two actions together to be able to provide an actual solution.
I love that. And, it's so timely. I find every day these days, I'm having more conversations and things are like popping into my head about, what we're really able to do in this conversation is to help debunk or correct some of the wrong isms of how people have been diagnosed, historically. And one of those, so I had a gentleman today, a client or patient say to me that he was talking about his cholesterol, and he said, my cholesterol is high. He said, but it's genetic. So I don't think there's really anything I can do. He's like, I had a really bad response to this medication. I'm having a bad response to this. And I'm now seeing him because he's having some sort of inflammatory, autoimmune, et cetera. And so we were talking through that part. And I said to him, I was like, so tell me how you got to the genetic. He said, well, everyone in my family has had high cholesterol. And so the doctor told me when my cholesterol was high and I tried changing some of my eating that I have genetically high cholesterol and there wasn't anything that I could do about it. So that's not true. Let's just start there, right? So what is family history and what are our genes and what's the opportunity that we have today to leverage this in a better way? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know something that just went through my head when you were talking is, my first degree was as a dietitian. Okay. It was decades ago. I get it. But I spent 5 years studying about diet and lifestyle, calories in, calories out, macronutrients. And not once in 5 years did the word genetics come up, right? So I learned, I always say my entire degree was 50% of the conversation. So here's the thing. Genetics impacts everything we do, whether it's our cholesterol, and I'm going to come around to your question, exercise, sleep, stress, anxiety, whether we're going to be in a podium finish, with whatever it is, genetics has a piece of that puzzle. Now, the question is understanding that piece. So first thing, the one wonderful evolution we've seen is that genetics are not your destiny. They do not define your future. They are insights. There is information. It is not your destiny. So what does that mean? That means that when we make a comment, like I've got a family history of high cholesterol, that's extremely valuable. But what it doesn't tell you is the why. And I always say, genetics is a lot of the why. So it might be I'm suffering from terrible menstrual cramps. It might be I'm suffering from really bad hot flushes during menopause. But what is the why? And the thing that genetics is able to do is provide the insight into the why. So in the example of cholesterol, and we've seen this so many times, I've seen it in weight as well. Someone will come to me and say, been dieting my whole life. It's obviously genetic. I can't lose weight. Not true. What is the why? Why is one person battling to lose weight, gains weight so easily? Why does someone have cholesterol? Now, often we think we know. So one of my favorite things about genetics is we don't know what we don't know. Because often you think you have that answer. You think it was a cholesterol gene that's causing high cholesterol. It might be sitting in inflammation. It might be sitting in hormones. It might be sitting in history. It might be sitting somewhere that you haven't even imagined it could be. And so very, very important is we always go back to the genes to know what we don't know and to find out the why.
Yeah. And somebody was asking here, I think we talked about it, but let's clarify. She said that there are oftentimes functional medicine practitioners are talking about epigenetics and saying it's actually not the genetics, it's the epigenetics. And, to me, that's like saying you only need your right hand or you only need your left hand. Like, I feel like we're designed with two. There's a rationale for two. Talk to us of how would you answer that in the, noting the environment of, this sort of conversation. I think you answered it, but maybe if you can clarify. Yeah.
So, I mean, again, if you ever hear the conversation about genetics and epigenetics, just think about yin and yang. The yin and yang circle, black and white, right? Insight and action. Genetics gives us information. It's our code. How does our code make us different? What can we learn about ourselves from our code? Okay, now we know that, right? This is what 3x4 does. Now we know that about ourselves. What do we do now? This is when the epigenetic conversation comes in. Always, whenever you think of epigenetics, think of the word action. What do I do now? And I always say, if genetics doesn't give us the information we need to know what to eat for breakfast, we have not succeeded. And that's what Ashley and I have been working on, because insight plus action is going to give health, not just action, which is not truly personalized, or not insight that doesn't have action. I hope that kind of makes it very.
Yeah, totally. So another one, and this again came up today, we have somebody in our thyroid program, and she said, I've got this MTHFR, and so I need to know what supplements to take. And again, I am not making fun of this person, neither is Yael when we giggle about this. Oh my gosh, have practitioners and the supplement industry made such a mess out of genes and, understanding our DNA and what we should be doing. So I want to use that as a way to introduce the concept of polygenetics and pathways. So if you could talk a little bit about methylation but most importantly, talking about the whole concept of we don't make a prescription off of a gene, and also what is a variant. Yeah. Okay. You're tracking. Go for it. Yes.
So, when I started 3x4, I was very disillusioned by what I was seeing in the genetic testing industry. Even though I'd been working in the space for 15 years, I was quite devastated, because what I was observing was this trend to take a single gene like MTHFR, like ApoE, like COMT, put it on a pedestal. And I had this beautiful slide of kind of MTHFR hanging on a pedestal with a big medal round its neck and saying, I'm the only gene that counts, right? And what we started seeing was entire companies selling supplement ranges just for this one gene variant. We started seeing public forums saying, I've got the MTHFR mutation, my child's going to have autism. It was absolutely horrible. Now, the reality is these spelling changes in our DNA that I referred to, the 0.1% of what makes us different, do not, in the world that we're speaking of nutrigenomics, cause disease. What they can do, not all of them, but some of them, is change the way our body works. We talk about biochemistry or metabolism. It changes something in the way that our body works. Now, our bodies are very complex, right? So we talk about methylation, we talk about detoxification, we talk about inflammation or glucose. It doesn't matter which element of health we're talking about. There is never only one gene. So I always say, if you see a Newsweek or a Time or an Economist or CNN, and they tell you, we found the obesity gene, we found the fat gene, we found the inflammation gene, like immediately put up a red flag and say, Yael told me that's not possible. And I'm telling you, it's not possible. There are so many genes that are contributing to where the body works that we need to consider and look at. And there is never only one. And there is definitely not a supplement that is going to fix the problem. And we're going to talk about that. So what we did at 3x4 is if there isn't a single gene, then what is there? So we have something called a polygenic approach, what we call a total genotype approach. So if we talk about detoxification or inflammation, we look at the whole process that happens to be able to, when a toxin comes into our body or is made by our body, to how we get it out of our body as efficiently as we can. And we look at all the genes we are involved in it, and we create what we call a polygenic score. And in that way, we can get a much better idea. Oh, here comes our polygenic scores.
I thought I might, but I forget which page it's on.
Yeah, it's like page 5, I think.
Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
So what you're seeing here, this is very kindly Ashley sharing her genetic report with us, which is kind of interesting, and I'll tell you why, is every line that you're seeing is a polygenic score. So every line has a group of genes that are working in that area. Now you can see Ashley's got a purple in methylation. So the thing at 3x4 is we use the language of color, and we say wherever purple is where the genes are having the greatest impact. You can see a lot of purple in Ashley's fantastic exercise genes there. Dark purple will have the greatest impact. So we also want to see in our nutrients, in the way we consume calories, in the way we store calories, in the way we exercise, in our hormones. If you could just go up a bit, actually. We talk about hormones, we talk about glucose, we talk about memory, we talk about mood. All of these are polygenic scores. And in that way, we can group genes together, see the impact they're having on our body and the way it works. And that gives the practitioner amazing insight of what they didn't know and what they want to do. And you can see, so Ashley's report is actually what I call a very slightly boring report, in that she actually doesn't have a lot of purple, which is wonderful for Ashley. It's kind of a little boring for me. But actually, let's talk about methylation, because methylation did come up as a pathway for you in purple, which means that that would be an area for us that we would want to start. And we have these beautiful pictures of methylation. In fact, we have pictures for everything. So
I was trying to I'm scrolling down intentionally to show where the genes are.
Right at the end. Just go right.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great.
Right to the bottom.
Sorry, everyone. I didn't mean to make you car sick here. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's okay. You're almost there.
Right. Yeah.
And so you'll see you're almost there.
There we go.
I know Ashley wants to show you what a polygenic score looks like. There you go. There you go. So what you're seeing here is those pathways that you saw as lines. You're now seeing what are the genes that we're scoring that are contributing to this particular area. And again, it's color coded. So wherever you're seeing purple, the genes are having the greatest impact on that pathway. Wherever it's gray, you're seeing there's no impact. Now, why this is so valuable is often, remember, genetics is insight. So when I have a patient, I always do a genetic test as a screening tool, because I want to know where should I focus. And it'd be interesting to hear Ashley's opinion on this. But why I love genetics is it tells me 4 things. Where should I start my intervention? What's my focus? I don't want trial and error. I want to really get to the root cause as quick as possible. 2, I want to know what I don't know. So what don't I know about Ashley that's going to be really helpful in making a better decision? 3, precision functional testing. Remember, truly personalized. If I'm going to order other labs for Ashley, I want to make sure I'm very clear on what I'm ordering and why, because I don't want to have a huge cost. I don't want to have it repeated. And lastly, what we talk about is targeted supplementation. So I don't want you to go home with a handbag full of supplements. I want to make sure we give things. So I'm going to stop for a second, and maybe Ashley, you could talk to what was your experience when you saw your report and saw purple as being methylation. What did that mean to you as both a customer of ours, but also obviously as an incredible practitioner?
Yeah, and I think I want to just go into the question, the initial where we were kind of giggling about MTHFR. It's also like this is great to show people. Like here you see it, here you see it. So it's not that you have it like a disease or like, they found this in my blood or that kind of thing. It's just it helps us to understand what color, et cetera. And I was one of those people who I think I saw I don't even remember who the practitioner was, but I remember somebody saying like, and for MTHFR, like, so anything that you ever do should be methylfolate. And the reality for me that honestly, I feel one of the key takeaways from here that would have been more helpful is number one, I learned that for an area of focus for me to pay attention to is going to be this area. So I wanted to understand what nutrients were involved in here. And that was really helpful. Choline, zinc, like the backdoor approach. So not just focusing on your B vitamins. But one of the things where I took this further and it actually helped me create something that we use at the Better Nutrition Program is I've always I think as practitioners and for those of you listening who aren't practitioners, we do want to understand the difference between synthetic ingredients and also what exists in nature. So what exists in nature is folate. And so all of us are going to be less efficient at taking folic acid and turning it into folate and having that be absorbed. But some of us in that getting that folate to that folate to be able to be used, the form of that folate is going to be more important. And so what it really helped me to do was to say, okay, I think fortunately I was a little bit oriented this way, but I did a little bit of a cleanup project that I now call the folic acid finding or folic acid pantry activity, but I typically call it folic acid finding. And I send people into their cupboards to see, and it's things like protein powders, nutritional yeast, bars. So a lot of the bars that have things, kind of have a supplement added in there, anything that has enriched flour, which is like one of the worst terms that was ever egregious terms, in my opinion. It's like so rich, it's so nutrient poor. And then they throw this other stuff back in. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, let me make sure that I'm not accidentally getting in folic acid. And then let me emphasize from a dietary standpoint, getting in folate. And then let me make sure, and this was actually really important because I had an organic, detox project, glyphosate residue free, certified. So I loved it checked all my boxes, and I looked at it and it was folic acid, not folate. And I was like, okay, so this is a supplement that I don't want to be taking. So where are those places I could clean that up? And then for me, paying attention to the nutrients as I design my dietary plan. So it's been really helpful. And it's also helped me understand methylation and its role in metabolism. So you saw a lot of things on there, but for, from a personal standpoint, maybe what I could show or not, but my metabolism, like my metabolic piece is like this flicker of a flame, like where, some people, are going to burn it much more easily. So these things help me as I, pursue optimizing metabolism, brain, cognitive health. All of those things are really important for me. Yeah.
Really good time to just talk about like why we're having this conversation, why BNP. So and we've spoken a lot about 3x4, and I'm sorry for those that need it. If you really want the deep dive into 3x4, we can point in the right direction, but I really want to talk about the why BNP. So one of and kind of maybe send it back to you, but one of my journeys of being in the world of nutrigenomics, which has been a solid 23 years now, is that, we were building genetic tests. I was teaching practitioners how to use it. Practitioners were working with patients. But the problem that I've had is, that kind of idea of, so what do I do with this information? Where do I go now? And I mean, I've been working with some outstanding clinicians over the decades, but the reality is not every user is going to go to one of these wonderful clinicians. And even these wonderful clinicians might not have the time to be able to, sit them, do the recipes, hand-holding them. So I was like, there's something missing for me. And funny enough, a couple of years ago, we launched a recipe book in South Africa called Genes to Plate. But it was that idea that brought Ashley and I together, which is, how do we start with the insight that we have from genetics and end with the plate, so that every individual who's engaging with their genetics has the ability to easily follow the direction to be able to execute these amazing insights. And for me, it was something I had never been able to solve in the work I'd done in 3x4 until Ashley and I got together at a conference in February and started talking about what we could do together. And so I think, Ashley, this is an amazing time to talk about what this comprehensive plan is that you and I have been working on for the last couple of months, sure, and why we really believe that this insight and action, it manifests in this comprehensive plan, and what it actually is.
Yeah, and I think it's going to answer, there were a couple of questions that came in. How do we make the colors actionable? And I think, yeah, I'll explain that, but if not, we'll do that at the end. And then BNP stands for actually Better Not Perfect, but it's also the name of my company, the Better Nutrition Program. So it's BNP as in Paul, or P as in program, or P as in perfect. So for the person who was asking that question. So when I first had my test done by a colleague, I was like, this is phenomenal information. But I was trying to figure out how it would be actionable. And one of the ways it was actionable is you come in with goals. So typically, if we're healthy, our goal is to stay healthy, or maybe it's a performance related goal. I want to be able to climb the mountain, or I want to be able to, have a healthy pregnancy, or, whatever it is on that part. And if we're not healthy, we're trying to get insights, as Yael was saying, to figure out how to actually, to get the results to improve our health. And to do it, quite honestly, as fast as possible, right? And maybe it's not speed, I will say as efficiently as possible, because sometimes we recognize where we are in life, we need to do things more slowly, but we still want to be efficient. We all want to stop wasting money, time, any of our resources on things that are not hyper targeted. So what I believe that the 3x4 comprehensive plan, which is powered by BNP Coaching, what I believe it is it's really a way to hit the bullseye and to consistently hit the bullseye from a healthcare standpoint. So at the end of the day, as a clinician who has specialized in personalized nutrition, I've done all the things over the years except for genetics. So I've done things like, your stool tests. I've done micronutrient testing. I do things that I've made up that are fun activities. I have your sweet taste bud test to see if your sweet taste buds are out of whack. I do the folic acid finding in your pantry. I've done the hydration test, all of these other things to see stress check-ins, to, understand how somebody's body is responding. So what was fascinating to me with my own nutrigenomics experience and subsequently being able to review tests was that I was so when I figured out all of that, and even when I did all of that and said, okay, you know what, I need to work on your gut first. And then as I'm working on your gut, I need to do this, this, and this. I still wasn't as efficient as when I was introduced to the nutrigenomics test. So I incorporated in the nutrigenomics test. I also worked with practitioners to help them incorporate it in. But a funny thing happened. It was, I'm a little bit competitive. And so I had a debate with a couple of practitioners. I had this debate with Yael, and then I asked her to let me work with her colleague, who was like the guru on. I've never seen somebody do the review tests like this as fabulously. Honestly, I'm just like, this is phenomenal. And I work with her on it because I didn't believe that actually knowing the genes first would give me efficiency. I felt like, hey, there's a lot of stuff I can do if I know somebody's hydration isn't optimized, or I know, this other thing isn't optimized. Well, boy, was I wrong. Because it's not necessarily knowing just where the purple is. The purple's super helpful, but there's a lot in all of those different colors. We got information and insights that help me do two really important things. The first is, as the clinician, or if I'm not the clinician and I'm having the comprehensive plan do this, the clinicians that are working for me, right, on it, that helps them dive in and see, all right, who am I? What expectations can I understand about what this person may struggle with, where this person may have efficiencies I can play to, and also things that may be inefficient in that part. It also gives me a way of talking to someone to explain to them, to help them understand why they've been struggling with something or why something hasn't worked. This gentleman that I was talking to about from a statin standpoint, I said to him, I will put money on the dollar right now. If we do your nutrigenomics test, we are going to see that your detoxification system is not great. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about the detoxification system and genetics, Anne is going to drop a link in here for a session tomorrow. And if you're watching this in a recording, we can always give you that link from a recording. But it's so important, because if your detoxification system is inefficient, it doesn't mean you're not going to be a good detoxifier. It means we have to invest in that first. By the way, I can't actually even help you with your digestion if your detoxification system isn't working better. I've got to suddenly pivot and say, hey, I got to do these two things together. Otherwise, I run the risk of actually having you have a worse situation, right? Or in the case of, we all know antibiotics are not great for somebody from a digestive standpoint because they're wiping everything out. Now, they may be totally necessary. I'm completely fine with that. But if they're wiping everything out on that part, but what about all these other medications? What about some of the supplements? Again, if I'm not detoxifying, what if somebody wants, is deciding to use an estrogen patch? I'm all for hormonal interventions if you're trying to do that. But suddenly you don't have the system set up to operate optimally for you. We're going to create problems where we could actually prevent them or more efficiently address them. So to me, the comprehensive plan, it is a genes first approach. You have your genetic test. So if you already have your genetic test, you're right there. And we do use the 3x4 test for this because of everything Yael was talking about, the polygenetics, the pathways, et cetera. And then if you haven't already had the test done, you order the test as part of, it's included in your package. And while you're waiting for your results, we take you through what we call roadmap building. So in the roadmap building, and again, if you already have your test, you go right into roadmap building. In the roadmap building, I'm going to gather the information that I, as the clinician, need to know about you. I need to know not just your health history. I need to know your lifestyle choices. I also need to know your why. I need to know some of the things about somebody said to me, I've got my daughter's wedding this time next year. Somebody else said to me, this is my son is going into his junior year, and this is a really important time. Somebody else, I mean, you go on, when we know your why, it's going to help me know, do I need to talk to you about something we fast track? Do I think we're going to, go longer on that part? And so in the roadmap, we actually put all of this together. We take any labs that you're willing to share with us, any data that you have. Maybe you've worn a continuous glucose monitor. Maybe you've, gathered data in the past, you've tracked things, whatever it is on that part. We gather that data. We ask you to do a few, what I think are fun experiments. They're very easy, things like the sweet taste bud test and the hydration. We also share a little bit of information about genes because, a little edutainment. They're fun. They're cartoons, so it's fun on that part. We put all of that together. And so the 3X4 and the BNP clinical teams meet, and you're getting people with decades of experience, myself and my colleagues, likewise on the 3X4 team. And we put all of this together. We look at your insights, we look at what you've done, we look at how your body is responding to things, and we look at what your goals are, and we put together a plan for you. And then we also, in that plan, highlight priorities for you. So one of those priorities might be, hey, based on what you have here, and this just happened, we don't have enough information. Somebody diagnosed you as, we'll call it hypothyroid, and all we have is a TSH. Well, in our land, that's not good enough. So we think it would be really important for us to get additional lab tests. But while you're doing that, we also see over here that you've been fasting. So this person was actually not eating until about noon in the day. And this was really throwing them off. And it was, they're burnt out, their adrenals, all these other things. We saw great things in the genetics that helped us to understand that. We're actually, your energy, we got to support you. Your oxidative stress, that was purple for us. There was all this stuff that we knew from the genetics that we needed to support. And we're able to put that together. And then because delivering that, just like maybe me sharing it with you right now, it could be really overwhelming to get a whole plan and be here is your entire to-do list for how you go and get healthy, right? And we call them the steps to success. And so what we decided is, who's going to help you most efficiently on the steps to success? It's not a clinician like me, it's a coach. Because health coaches are designed to take recommendations from practitioners, and they are going to sit with you and go over and say, all right, are you in? Do you like these priorities? Does this feel like a good step forward? What do you think is keeping you from taking this step forward? Are you confused about it? And they're going to help you hack your way to what I like to say are deliciously doable solutions. How do we find it to be something, and doable has to mean affordable. You have time for it. You have the culinary skills. If you're feeding a family of 7, you've got a way to make everybody happy and have yourself be happy, et cetera on that part. So we put that together, and there's a month of coaching that comes included in your 3X4 comprehensive plan. And then if you decide after that, you may continue coaching on a monthly basis and also continue to work on the steps to success. One of the reasons to continue on or to think about this is, just because we identify in May or June of 2023 that these are your steps to success, something could change. You could be coming in and you could be working on training for an Ironman, and you could unfortunately sprain your ankle. So now I'm actually in a not training mode, and I'm in a, how do I, reduce inflammation, recover effectively, avoid weight gain, avoid all the mood challenges of not having exercise available to me. So when you have a coach and when you have a clinical team backing it up, because our team is always there with you from a coaching standpoint, or the clinical team is always working with the coaching. When you have that for you at every step, we can pivot in real time. And this is what true personalization is. True personalization is not getting a set of recommendations from a really qualified practitioner. True personalization is actually implementing those recommendations, learning how your body responds to those recommendations, including, I know I said I was going to eat ground flax seeds, but those things taste like sawdust. It's not happening. And us turning around and being okay, so for detoxification, and especially for you as it relates to estrogen, we need to find something else. Are you open to a supplement of, and or whatever, and we come up with something else, and then we find things that are doable for you. So the 3X4 comprehensive plan is a starting point. It's your starting point. It's your health plan, just like a financial plan. The CEO always talks about this. It's you got to have a financial plan if you've got if you want to have the finances there to be able to do whatever you want to be able to do with them, right? And so from a health plan standpoint, we wanted to create this But the concept is you can stop and start whenever you want. Once you've done the plan, you might decide, you might be like, that coaching was great, but I don't really need it for a couple of months. And then you might go, oh, wow, I think perimenopause is hitting. And you know what? I need a lot of support. And by the way, we'll come back and say, and you know what? As you navigate perimenopause, here are the 3 things we have to consider based on your genetics and based on your epigenetics. This yin and yang is going to help us at every step of the way when you have a health concern or when you have a health goal to be able to come back and say, here's how we can truly personalize that. So it was a long answer, Yael, to your question, but I get really excited about being able to deliver it. So what do you want to add to it, or what's your experience been? Yeah.
The long and brilliant answer. I just want to maybe summarize. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to bring together what we believe to be the most important elements to success. The first is the genetic test, which gives you insight about who you are, what you don't know, and where you should focus. The second piece is bringing together clinical experts who have both experience in nutrigenomics as well as personalized nutrition to figure out what your action piece should be, what it is that you should be doing to get, it's that 20-80 thing, 20% effort for 80% impact. What is it that you're going to achieve your goals? And the third piece is the health coaching. And I, over the last couple of years, have become a huge fan of the value of health coaching that goes way beyond what people like myself and Ashley contribute and are able to do. That you need that coach to take those recommendations and help them be implemented. So it's insight, create the actions, and then help the individual execute the actions. And that is what makes this comprehensive program absolutely unique in terms of from when you understand to how you actually achieve success. And I think that maybe I just wanted to put it into the thing. That's and right. I think Anne shared the link. You can have a look. There's unlimited messaging in the app. There's all these experiments. There's a lot of information gathering between when you do your cheek swab and when you get your information. We are, this is our first trial of it. The price is super low because we're trialing it. It's beta testing. It's a great time to jump on board, but mostly we're trying to work out what does a full solution look like and not just have these separate pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, and I've had 2 questions come up that I think are complementary to that. One of them, yes, so from a supplement standpoint and a lab testing standpoint. So you should not, where we waste time, money, and resource, and often we don't hit the bullseye, but also we can move ourselves in a direction that's unhelpful, is by taking supplements that are just recommended in isolation of full data, right? And you need that full data. So what we do is we provide, if you have lab tests, we will evaluate them. We provide recommendations and provide the testing. So you don't have to go to another practitioner. We can send you a link and you can get those. There's 2 states, I think, that New York, there's some tests in some states, but most of the time we can do across all states, and supplement recommendations. Not because we're saying because of your genes, you should buy these supplements. We're going to say because of your genes, your health goals, your labs, if we have them, and because of what you eat, and because of what you're not willing to eat, and because of what you want to be able to, it's for me, it's like magnesium at night, because I don't want you eating something before bed, but I do want your body getting that magnesium then, so we're able to do that. So great question. Thank you. That's part of how we personalize. And then the other thing is, I've always practiced this way. Whenever I make a supplement recommendation, it actually has an expiration date of 90 days. So I might have you on vitamin D for the rest of your life as an example, but every 3 months, I'm going to evaluate, are we on the right dose? Are we do we need a different form? Is there something I need, any of these different pieces? So that's a really important thing for you to think about. If you're somebody who maybe is still using a set of supplements or different, I've had people say to me, well, my supplement recommendations are from 4 different practitioners and a friend who is selling something. That's most people. But if you're doing that, you're missing an opportunity, as Yael said at the very beginning, to have something that is hyper personalized, really targeted to you and to your nutrition. In the summer, you may need different supplements than in the winter based on what you're consuming and based on, on what goes on in those months. So that was one question I think that's really important. And the second part was somebody was asking on here about, they were saying with the continuing. So the continuing after the plan is $99 a month. So again, that's our beta price. So you want to get in on that. But it's $99 for the coaching. It's 60 minutes of coaching, which we recommend splitting up into 2 30-minute sessions. Sometimes people do 15-minute really quick check-ins with their coach. We don't do that in the first month, but they may do that subsequently. The other option is on some of those for $99, some of those months, you may do another BNP program. You may do a digestive tune-up. You may do our continuous glucose monitor, our blood sugar optimizer, 30-day program, our sweet taste bud reset. By the way, those programs currently cost like $395. So getting them for $99 is pretty much a win. And the final piece is practitioners. It's not that you aren't able to, maybe, like I'm not able to do some of the things that coaches are able to do. Phenomenal. They're great listeners. They think like, troubleshoot in a bunch of these different directions. So I may not be as good at, I know that part, but also it is not my zone of genius. And so for practitioners, you want to be thinking about, just like we're talking about for the individual, all of this should be as efficient and as effective as possible. And the opportunity in a collaboration, and you can absolutely implement the 3x4 comprehensive plan as a practitioner. If you want to be able to implement that, that's just connect with us. We have a list. We're rolling people out. We pay a lot of, it's personalized, so we pay a lot of attention to each practice. But we are rolling that out, and we're happy to do that. This is not intended to replace your relationship with a practitioner. You may also have a phenomenal practitioner. Like I go to an incredible naturopath. She has no training in nutrigenomics. So this was really helpful for her. She was like, oh, I want you to do all of this and then share it with me, because now I can add my naturopath genius on top of it. And now we can knock it out of the park for you, in that way. So there's a lot of opportunity in those different spaces. Now is a great time if anyone has any questions about the 3x4 comprehensive plan, about even backing up to the start of the conversation, what's truly personalized and what isn't. This balance of epigenetics and genetics that to us, it's so critical that we get this right, and we have not seen this anywhere. That was really where the magic for us, it was like, I was upstairs, she was downstairs, we met on the staircase and we're like, hey, you're doing this and I'm doing this. And it's like, boom, if we did it together, right? Like, on that part. So we're really excited to be able to bring it forward to you all. And again, to share it to you at this is the absolute big bargain basement price for getting started. So if it's remotely of interest to you, for people who don't have their test already, this never happens. You also save another $50 on the test. So the pricing of the test is even discounted. And if you already have your test, you've already made that investment. This is a great opportunity to really optimize the investment that you made in your test as well.
And just to comment, I mean, this is a beta price on the test, so we have decreased the price of the test. There's a $50 discount for the beta testing. So
right, that's it. Yeah.
So this is it. It'll be running. I think we're only have a certain number of spots left for the beta. And then, we'll take all the learnings from that. And so lots of personalized attention at the moment.
And what I will say is we've had a handful of people who have completed it and they've now signed up all their family members. So one of the other reasons I've said to people, if you're interested, it's like, I just had somebody finish and she signed up 4 of her family members. And I was like, oh gosh, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of somewhere between 25 to 30 still available at this price point. So just know this isn't like, I don't want to be like going fast, gone. It's moving. There will be a time if you decide to wait till the fall, and if the fall is better for you, it's just going to be a little bit more expensive, or a little bit more expensive. Yeah, on that part. All right, everyone. So on behalf of the Better Nutrition Program and 3x4, hold on, I want to make sure I didn't miss a question that came in. I think it was just a conversation about BNP. Please go over the price and what the program includes. Absolutely. And we are, and thank you, Chelsea. Okay. So we're sharing a link, Gloria, that has the landing page so you can see, but very succinctly, the program includes the test, unless you already have the test, in which case you buy the other one and you start off, and then it includes the roadmap. And that's a 30-day where you're in our app and you're interacting with our customer service. You're not in coaching yet, but if you have any questions or, don't know how to answer something or want to upload something, there's always somebody that's there for you. You're going through and you're providing information for us behind the scenes as your test results come in. the BNP clinical team and the 3x4 clinical team are meeting together. And by the way, 1 hour with me is $650. I don't know what Annalie bills out at, but just putting in context that this is all included, crazy for now. But you've got it in there. So you've got us coming together, and then we put this all together in a roadmap for you. It's about a 1 to 2 page document that's going to go over key insights. You're also, of course, going to get your test results. You're going to get, it's going to show you the key insights, what your goals are, and then what we're recommending and how we're recommending you proceed. That's the roadmap part of it. You're going to have a conversation with our teammate about that to see, hey, do you want to proceed? And you have a built-in month already, because the next thing that it includes is a month of coaching. And then at that point, if there are supplements and lab tests that are recommended, you will go ahead and get links from us. Those are all discounted or at cost, et cetera. And that'll be sent over. And then you'll start your month of coaching. When you're in your month of coaching, you get 2 30-minute sessions with your coach. You also get unlimited messaging with your coach. So that can be for accountability, for support, all of these different things. And then the coach behind the scenes is interacting with me and my clinical team. So if a question comes up about something clinically related, they are going to be able to get the feedback from us. Let's say that you're starting to do something and you notice, gosh, I'm feeling like I have more, this wouldn't happen, but hypothetically, like I'm feeling like I'm having leg cramps, or all of a sudden I'm having a longer period. Should I stop doing this? Or, anything else like that. We will be able to answer those things for you. In addition, yes, there is more. There are also 2 live sessions during the month. So every other Wednesday we meet and we host live hour-long sessions to talk directly to you. You can either submit questions. If you can't attend live, you can submit questions through your coach, or you can attend live. We just had one today. It was fabulous, where you can come in and talk with me and my clinical team and a coach, so that we are all there to help answer questions and to go further. The only thing that's not included is a 1 hour deep dive into your genetic test to just focus on your genetic test. You are going to get our feedback on your test. You're going to get me. I mentioned I do the 1 to 2 page roadmap for you. I think I may have forgotten to mention I also do about a 10 to 20 minute recording for you. So you're going to hear me talk about that. But if you're somebody who really wants to dive into your test, that would be an additional investment. And that on top of that, and that's $165 for doing that. And we have a clinician who does that, and that folds into everything. You can't just do your deep dive. It's part of, you have to have the comprehensive plan, either of the comprehensive plans to be able to do that. So that's everything that's included for, and as I mentioned, this is like really the only time ever anywhere that you would also, as a result, not just be able to get this entire plan in totality available for you at this rock bottom price, but also be able to get a $50 discount on this test that you only need to have once in your life. Like this isn't we're going to hit you back and say like, oh, you should have this test again, or, whatever. And maybe there's one other time in your life, maybe there's an upgrade 10 years from now and you decide to get another test, but theoretically it pretty much is a once in a lifetime from a test standpoint. So those are all the answers there. I see a lot going on in the chat, but I'm going to assume that you guys, okay, great. I think everybody got to that. Are there any other questions or clarification? I told you I was going to move quickly, but you are also going to get the recording. So if you want to watch or listen to it, if you need to put me on 0.5, that's okay. Slow me down. But you'll get that. You'll see my genes. It's like I just talk real fast. There you go.
You did see it in your genes.
You do see. That's right.
It's got in your genes. Right?
That's right. That's right.
Those brain neurotransmitters that we saw.
Yeah. Yael, I think for me, the way that I want to close is like, I'm not a new kid on the block as a practitioner. And I feel like both on a personal level and a professional level, not just having the test, but moving over to this genes first approach, as I said, has created a degree of efficiency. And also, I just got to say, it's like, and maybe it's a little bit ego, but like, I'm just so much better. Like I am so much better as a practitioner because I can help somebody understand who they are and validate some of their experiences and, challenges and these sorts of things. But also, I really do know that we are preventing issues and we are able to more effectively direct issues. And that to me is like, this is why we want to use everything at our disposal today to do true personalization. And it's also why, the supplement companies that are out there selling their products and saying, hey, take this quiz and tell us about your digestion, or even come do our stool test and we'll tell you what supplements to take. that's not okay. Like, that's not enough. And that, to me, what I love about this collaboration is it allows somebody to say, I have a team that is doing it all on that part. And we're going to collaborate with your other practitioners. So it's going to give you this like great grounding, like within, to say, okay, this is somebody who legitimately really sees me. They see me from my origin of my design all the way through the impact of my actions, and they're available to help me in real time, adjust what I'm doing so that I stay as efficient as possible. That means you all get to go off and do whatever your superpowers are. And that gets me really excited. So I'm so grateful. Thank you. Like, I'm so glad our worlds have collided, and we're able to offer this. But that would be my closing piece. Anything you want to say in closing?
I don't know that there's much more to say, but this is really like, I see this as the next chapter in certainly my career in 3x4, where we use the word truly. Truly, this is how it should be done. And it's almost like, why haven't we done this? This makes so much sense. We want to impact change. We want to change behavior. We want to drive health in the individuals. Like, how do we not figure this out earlier? So I think, everything's about timing, but I think this has certainly been one of the most exciting collaborations that I've had in my history with 3x4. And I just think there's so much work for all of us to do, whether you're doing it for yourself, doing it for your family, or you're a practitioner and you're going to be working with us. I think this is what the future looks like.
Yeah, I love that everything is about timing. If you took the time to be here today and or are doing this on a recording, please take advantage of our lowest offer on that part. Somebody mentioned a webinar in the chat thread. Yes, there is. We're actually talking tomorrow. We're going in depth, a bit more geeky, if you will, on the science, which I love. I'm so excited. Dr. Joffe is going to dive into detoxification and how to optimize detoxification. So that is there for you, and we would love to have you join. And if you are unable to join, go ahead and register, because you'll also get the recording, just like for today.
Like the genetics epigenetics conversation, but we're going to do it all through the lens of detoxification.
Right.
Some really good stuff tomorrow.
Yes, and we'll hear about my favorite food, broccoli. Obviously, because I love the florets. Yes, that's right. That's awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Anne, for navigating the chat box, and everybody who took your time is so valuable to us. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can see the excitement that we have and the passion in this project, but it is a team. It is all of us together to help this really change healthcare and help everyone have access to something that is truly personalized. So we hope that you will seek us out and collaborate in some way, because we would love to help you personally, your family, or to help you with your patients.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.